What if I told you that behind Frank Sinatra's charming smile and legendary status lurked some of the most bitter Hollywood feuds you've never heard about? Chairman of the board didn't just dislike certain Oscar winners. He absolutely despised them with a passion that would make your jaw drop. It's 1955, and Frank Sinatra has just won his comeback Oscar for From Here to Eternity. He's on top of the world, right? Wrong. While he's basking in his triumph, he's secretly plotting against fellow Academy Award winners who he believes don't deserve to breathe the same air as him. This isn't just about professional rivalry. This goes deeper, darker, and more personal than anyone imagined. Today, we're delving into the complex psychology of Old Blue Eyes and uncovering the surprising truth about why Frank Sinatra harbored such intense animosity towards certain Oscar-winning stars. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at classic Hollywood the same way again. Let's start with perhaps the most explosive feud of all: Frank Sinatra versus Marlon Brando. Now, I'd think these two titans of cinema would respect each other, but you'd be dead wrong. Sinatra couldn't stand Brando from the moment the young actor burst onto the scene with his method acting approach. When Brando won his first Oscar for On the Waterfront in 1955, the same year Sinatra won his, Frank was reportedly furious. He saw Brando's naturalistic style as pretentious nonsense, referring to it as that mumbling garbage behind closed doors. But the real catalyst for Sinatra's hatred came during the filming of Guys and Dolls, where both actors were cast together. Brando's perfectionist approach drove Sinatra absolutely insane. While Frank preferred to nail scenes in 1 or 2 takes, Brando would demand take after take, diving deep into his character's motivation. Sinatra famously quipped Brando was the most overrated actor in the world and that his Oscar was a joke. The tension on set was so thick you could cut it with a knife. But here's where it gets really juicy. Sinatra believed that Brando's Oscar win was part of a Hollywood conspiracy against traditional performers like himself. He saw the Academy's recognition of method acting as a direct assault on the old guard of entertainment, and he took it personally. Now, let's talk about another Oscar winner who made Sinatra's blood boil: Bing Crosby. Yes, seemingly wholesome crooner who won the Academy Award for Going My Way in 1944. You'd think two singers turned actors would get along. Their relationship was anything but harmonious. Sinatra's resentment toward Crosby ran deep, with roots in both personal and professional jealousy. Crosby had achieved everything Sinatra wanted: massive recording success, movie stardom, and that coveted Oscar, years before Frank even came close. When they worked together on High Noon, animosity was palpable. Frank couldn't stand what he saw as Crosby's holier-than-thou public persona. He knew the real Bing, the man who could be cold and calculating behind the scenes, and it infuriated him that audiences bought into the wholesome image. Sinatra once said in private that Crosby's Oscar was handed to him on a silver platter because he played a priest, implying that the Academy was swayed by the religious themes rather than actual acting ability. The rivalry intensified, and both men were considered for similar roles throughout the 1950s. Every time Crosby landed a part that Sinatra wanted, Frank would unleash a tirade about how the pipe-smoking phony was stealing opportunities from more talented performers. Perhaps no Oscar winner triggered Sinatra's rage quite like Grace Kelly. She won Best Actress for The Country Girl in 1955, beating out Judy Garland's iconic performance in A Star Is Born. Sinatra went ballistic. He had campaigned hard for Garland, believing she deserved recognition for her comeback performance. Sinatra's hatred for Kelly's win went beyond simple disappointment for his friend, Garland. He saw Kelly as the embodiment of everything wrong with Hollywood's class system. Here was this cool, aristocratic blonde who seemed to glide effortlessly into stardom, while working-class performers like Garland struggled for recognition. Frank made no secret of his feelings, reportedly saying that Kelly's Oscar was a political decision by a bunch of stuffed shirts who wouldn't know real talent if it bit them. He believed the Academy was more impressed by Kelly's royal connections and high society image than her actual acting abilities. The situation became even more complicated when Kelly began dating and eventually married Prince Rainier of Monaco. Sinatra saw this as the ultimate validation of his theory that she was more concerned with image and status than with genuine artistic merit. He would often make cutting remarks about her dating Hollywood for a crown, suggesting she never truly cared about the craft of acting. Now here's where Sinatra's psychology gets really fascinating. His hatred for these Oscar winners wasn't just about professional jealousy. It was deeply tied to his own insecurities and class consciousness. Frank came from humble beginnings in Hoboken. He never forgot where he came from. He saw performers he deemed less deserving winning the industry's highest honor. It triggered something primal in him. Sinatra had a particular disdain for what he called manufactured stars, performers who he believed were packaged and promoted by the studios rather than earning their success through raw talent and hard work. This explains his visceral reaction to winners like Kelly, who seemed to represent everything artificial about Hollywood's star system. His hatred also stemmed from a fierce loyalty to his friends and fellow performers, whom he felt were overlooked by the Academy. When Garland lost to Kelly, or when other Rat Pack members were snubbed, Sinatra took it as a personal affront. He saw the Oscars as a rigged game where the wrong people were being rewarded while genuine talents were ignored. There's another layer to this story that makes it even more compelling. Sinatra's own complicated relationship with his Oscar win for From Here to Eternity played into his animosity toward other winners. While he was grateful for the recognition, he also felt that he had to practically beg for the role, taking a massive pay cut and fighting against studio executives who didn't believe in him. This struggle made him particularly bitter toward performers who seemed to have awards handed to them without the same level of sacrifice. He would often say that his Oscar was earned through blood, sweat, and tears, while others simply got lucky or had the right connections. The most revealing aspect of Sinatra's hatred was how it manifested in his behavior toward these Oscar winners at industry events. He would deliberately ignore them at parties, refuse to acknowledge their achievements, and make subtle but cutting remarks in their presence. His legendary temper meant that even the slightest perceived slight could escalate into a full-blown confrontation. One particularly infamous incident occurred at a 1956 Academy Awards after-party, where Sinatra encountered both Brando and Kelly. Witnesses reported that Frank made a series of passive-aggressive comments about real performers versus pretenders before storming out when neither actor took the bait. What makes this story even more tragic is that Sinatra's hatred often consumed him more than it affected his targets. While Brando, Crosby, and Kelly continued their successful careers largely unaware of the depth of Frank's animosity, Sinatra would stew over perceived injustices for years to come. His close friends and associates reported that he would repeatedly bring up these Oscar-related grievances, unable to let go of his resentment. This pattern of holding grudges would become a defining characteristic of Sinatra's personality throughout his career. The irony is that Sinatra's own Oscar win, which should have been a moment of pure triumph, became somewhat tainted by his obsession with other winners he deemed unworthy. Instead of savoring his achievement, he used it as ammunition in his ongoing war against what he saw as Hollywood's fraudulent recognition system. So, there you have it. The dark truth about Frank Sinatra's secret hatred for certain Oscar winners. It wasn't just about professional rivalry or artistic differences. It was about class, authenticity, loyalty, a man's struggle with his own insecurities in an industry built on image and perception. The next time you watch one of Sinatra's classic films or listen to his timeless songs, remember that behind that confident swagger and charming smile was a man tormented by resentment and an unshakable belief that the wrong people were getting rewarded. At the same time, the truly deserving were left behind. What do you think about Sinatra's secret feuds? Do you believe his hatred was justified? Was he just a bitter perfectionist who couldn't handle others' success? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more shocking Hollywood secrets that will change how you see your favorite stars forever.